one class. There's only one class in African dance. However, our students also work with Kevin in the Kwanzaa program extensively in the fall, and he also sets a piece on the students every spring for our dance workshop. So it doesn't show up as African dance, but yet they're getting, again, an extensive amount of African dance training within the program. So again, anytime a student comes to you and says they want to major in dance, you don't have to, all you have to do is be like, okay, immediately send them to me or Aviva. And then we can, we work with you when we can and all of that, and really deeply appreciate all of your help. But I think the most important thing is anytime you get a dance major, immediately say, okay, you need to meet with Emily or Aviva first. Does anybody have any questions? Or as I always say, questions, comments, joys, concerns, fears?
If we can't get a hold of you right away, and let's say we have the student in our office, and a lot of times we'll have appointments, the student's already there. What would you be the best advice for that you would give to advisors? What would you say they need to do if we couldn't get a hold of you in time, let's say, because that happens.
Oh, of course, in that moment. So yeah, I mean, we're, Aviva and I, soon Nicole will also be joining us with Advisement the next year or two. But right now it's just Aviva and myself, and we also have full teaching schedules. So sometimes, and when I'm going to be perfectly honest, when I'm on Tuesdays, I do not look at my email or really even my phone from 9 a.m. until 6 p.m. because I'm literally in the studio from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. I have a couple of breaks, like just long enough to run into my office and throw some food in my mouth to survive the day. So, but also Aviva and I have alternating days most of the time. So usually if you can't get a hold of me, you can get a hold of Aviva. I also am happy. I am happy to provide my cell phone number that you can also text me if in that situation. Again, if I'm in the studio, I won't be able to respond. And I'm pretty sure Aviva would be okay with that as well. I'll put my cell phone number in the chat. But in those moments, and I know this is not ideal, but it still is advisable to have them wait to meet with us first. And the reason for that is because otherwise, oftentimes what happens is we have to redo their schedule anyways. And in a worst case scenario, what happens is the student thinks that they're okay and everything is fine, and so they delay meeting with us because they know they're going to get the dance classes, but then the dance classes conflict with the academic classes, the other academic classes, and so then they can't get in the academic classes that they want because those are no longer open. So it, like it creates a lot of more difficulty for the students. So I'm going to put my cell phone number in there that you can feel free to text me and or email me or call so that I'm pretty sure I will wait, and if Aviva agrees to that as well, which I'm pretty sure she will, but I don't want to okay that without her permission. So I will have her pass that information on to Will and share with you if she's okay with that also.
Okay. There's also a question in the chat. What other colleges can we transfer to other than Adelphi?
So we are in the process of finalizing articulation agreements with Brockport, Queens College, and Hofstra. So those articulation agreements on the dance end are complete. So it's just now going to complete the Common Core and the Flexible Core classes for the students to then have it be an official articulation agreement. And we actually have, Brockport actually funds flying 3 folks from their faculty down to New York to come to Queensborough Community College and audition our students on campus. So they just had an audition. We have actually, I think, at least 3 students. One's transferring there in the spring, and 2 others are transferring in the fall, and possibly more. And actually, I just got an email from him, and he said immediately after the audition, we would love to work with all of these students. So every single student that auditioned got in. And he just texted me to ask who's really seriously going to come to decide who they're going to give money to. So they're going to give as much money as they can to probably 2 to 3 students at least. So in addition to, they really want our students. And that's a BFA program. And it's a really strong BFA program. Rutgers, I'm in touch with Rutgers, the chair at Rutgers. He actually, we've been meaning to get in touch. They just have a new chair. And he actually approached me at the NASD and said, let's create an official articulation agreement. So I'm going to be meeting with the chair at Rutgers to also create an official articulation agreement, which is, again, one of the strongest dance programs in the country right now. But we've had several students transfer to Rutgers. We've also had quite a few students transfer to Montclair. Montclair is great because they offer offer a talent scholarship that offers in-state tuition. So we just had 2 students graduate from Montclair's program. And Montclair, again, they graduate with a BFA in 2 years. Adelphi, Hofstra, LIU Brooklyn, unfortunately, their program doesn't exist anymore. But LIU Brooklyn, we have had quite a few students transfer to Hunter that want to do dance education. But that's going to start shifting also because Lehman is about to start a new BA, MA in dance education, which I think will be a better path for our students. And Queens College is also doing the same, which I also think will be a better path. But we also have colleges across the country that want QCC dance majors. So University of Texas, Austin, Ohio State University, University of Florida, and these again are they're in the top 10 strongest dance programs in the country. The issue is a lot of our students don't want to leave New York City area. So we actually also have a student who is just starting his first year after transferring from Queensborough at Purchase College, at SUNY Purchase. So there are quite a few programs that want our students, and we're building and growing the number of articulation agreements that we have that makes that even easier and smoother.
That's great. I really appreciate it. No, it's the fact that you guys are growing and plans are growing to expand. That's great, and I think the advisors need to all know that, which is good. And just a reminder, this is recorded. I've had a couple questions asking me if it's recorded or not. Okay, we're running a little behind, so thank you so much, Professor Barry. I really appreciate it. And again, if anyone can't get a hold of her, you can always contact me as well, since I'm the direct liaison. Thanks again. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. And
Uh,
again, also, please don't ever hesitate to reach out with any questions
mhm.
or anything. And I also might have questions for you also, so the thing that I love the most is, the open communication. So I really
Sure.
appreciate that from all of
Well,
you.
I can affirm that with all those 7, 8 o'clock texts. Anyway, thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Thank
We're
you.
moving on next to Denise Olson from Career Services. Denise, are you there?
I'm here.
Okay, welcome. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for
The
having
floor is
me.
all yours.
All righty. So I wanted to just thank you again for having me from the Office of Career Services. And I'm just going to tell you about a couple of new things that we have going on this semester. So a new event that we started is called Career Meetups. And so what we're doing is we're just going to be popping up in different locations on campus, the Medical Arts Building, the Student Union, the Science Atrium. And the idea is to try to meet students where they are. They see us on campus. We're going to have some signage up and just be there to answer any questions they have, to just give them a little overview of our services, just to really increase engagement with students, increase exposure to our department. So that's something new that you'll see us just popping up on campus. The other thing that we're doing is back to basic workshops, virtual workshops for the months of October and November. And they're going to be on Skills First, which is our AI resume tool. We're going to be doing a resume refresh, which goes through a resume guidebook that we created that also is online on our website that really takes students through step by step on how to create a resume. We're going to do a navigating internship workshop, and then the art of persuasion, a cover letter workshop. And then besides that, in November, November is Career Development Week. So for the week of November 11th through November 15th, we're going to be doing different events every single day, promoting, we're going to be promoting this well before the week starts, but we're going to be having, activities all week long, whether it be workshops. We're going to be doing an in-person rapid resume review where students can come to our office and get a quick overview of, look at their resume. So we're really trying to embrace this career development week with students and bring awareness to career services for all of our students. And those are really the new things that we're doing. I mean, we still have, the same great tools on our website. We have, Focus 2 and Career Coach for career exploration. Handshake, as you know, is essential for every student to be on because that's the only way they can make an appointment with us. And then we have Pathful, which is our tool also for career exploration. And then Skills First, which really uses AI to help students create resumes that are really going to be targeted, which is so important now. So we're excited about all these events. It's challenging because we're a tiny staff, so we're going to be running all over the place, but appreciate if you, mention these to your students or, as you always do. I thank you for, again, all the work you do with the students and for sending students our way when they're not sure and they have questions. We really appreciate that. So if anybody has any questions, happy to answer, but that's pretty much all the new things that I wanted to bring up.
Did you guys had a job fair, right?
No, we still haven't gotten back to in-person job or internship fairs. We have not had one. We do host quite a few virtual employer information sessions, which are all listed on the QCC events calendar. We actually have one this week with the NYPD Cadet Corps, but we're still not doing any in-person internship or job fairs.
How's the attendance been with the Zoom events?
Mm, we get a lot of registration, but we usually average about 30 to 40% that show up.
Right.
So it's still challenging, and that's one of the reasons that we've been a little bit reluctant in doing some of the in-person events. But we will be doing some in-person events in the end of October, beginning of November for the technology department, for the engineering technology, mechanical engineering. We have some really great employers that are going to be coming on campus to talk to students about apprenticeship opportunities. So that's coming up the end of October, beginning of November. One is with GE Healthcare. They're recruiting for apprentice students who are graduating from our program and want to work in the hospitals fixing the equipment, which is really cool. All the healthcare equipment, most of it is owned by GE Healthcare. And then the MTA is launching a apprenticeship for mechanical and electrical engineers, and they're going to be coming on campus hopefully in November again to talk to graduating students. So it's kind of exciting to have some of these programs for students that are getting ready to graduate. I know you see students at all different times in their career here, but those will also be posted on the calendar, and there will be marketing events sent, marketing material sent out to the students on those as well.
Any questions? Okay. Let's see here. And you said on the website there was they have the whole database and everything still, right? As far as for students to job search. What's the
Yeah, Handshake.
handshake?
Yeah,
Okay.
Handshake is the database for that to make appointments, to search for internships and jobs. Yes, definitely. And then there's a resume guidebook also. I can put the link in the chat, which is our step-by-step book to help students craft their resumes.
Okay. Any questions for career services? Okay. Okay. I think any questions in the comments? I don't see anything. Hold on a second. Nope. All right. Well, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it. If there's any questions, maybe put your email
Sure.
or contact in the chat. That would be great. And let me just look at the next schedule here.
Thank you. Have a good day, everybody.
You too. Okay, next on the calendar is CUNY Edge. Is CUNY Edge here? Janielle Allen, are you there? Okay. All right. Just hang on 1 minute, folks, because I'm trying to upload a video for Bursar. Hang on one second.
Hi, and welcome to Account Services. My name is Joy, and I oversee the account service area. We offer an extensive number of services to freshmen, continuing students, and our actively aging population. Our goal is to ensure that you graduate with the least amount of debt. Our team is passionate and excited to meet you. The office has been specially designed to offer a personalized and private environment to talk about finances. We can also connect you with other supportive services that QCC offers.
Hi, I'm Andrea. I help process replacement check requests for lost or uncashed refunds. I also provide guidance with updating mailing addresses on CUNY First and assist with direct deposit enrollment. It's a safer, quicker, and convenient way to receive funds. I look forward to assisting you. Hola, soy Andrea. Espero su visita y poder ayudarle.
Hi, my name is Laura. I help with third-party billing, such as DOE 1199 vouchers. I also assist veteran students with VA payments and AmeriCorps awards. In addition, I help students and parents with 529 plans. I look forward to meeting you. Hola, mi nombre es Laura y hablo español. Espero conocerte pronto.
Hi, I'm Martina, one of the counselor at the Account Services. One of our functions here is to assist students who needs to complete a satisfaction academic progress, also known as a SAP. We offer guidance to students throughout the process of submitting necessary supporting documentations to financial aid via scan. Your success is our priority, and we are here to ensure a smooth and efficient process.
Hello, my name is Sabrina. I help students navigate residency issues and apply for County Certificate of Residency. An example is Nassau and Suffolk. If you are being charged a non-resident rate, please come by so we could review your account.
Hi, my name is Lena. I'm part of the Account Services team. We're here to help you answer questions regarding student financial accounts. Добрый день, меня зовут Лина. Добро пожаловать в Student Financial Accounts.
Hi, my name is Jessica. We are looking forward to meeting you. Hey, 你好，我叫 Jessica。我會講廣東話，同埋我喺會成果園。Thank you.
Did everyone see that? I wasn't sure if it was shared.
I was able to see it. Thank you, William.
Okay. All right, great. Hold on a second. All right, I'm going to share that link in the chat so everyone has it. All right, we have to shift gears a little bit. Let me just see who's next. Okay. We're gonna jump a little bit early, I guess, ahead of schedule. Next person we have is from the Rise program. Sam, are you here?
Yes, I'm here.
Hi, Sam. Nice to meet
Hi,
you.
thank you. You too.
Uh,
So I'm Sam Frioli. I work with the RISE program at QCC. We're the Road to Interdependence and Student Excellence program. So we provide academic and career support for CTE majors. Um, so CTE kind of covers quite a few majors at QCC, but the general fields that we cover are business management and administration, health sciences, arts, AV technology and communication, information technology, law enforcement, architecture and construction technology, and STEM majors as well. So what we do is we help students explore potential careers in their field, as well as if their major is a good fit for them. We help them plan their time at QCC, both academically and getting them set up for their careers. Um, and we help students create goals so that they're optimizing their time at QCC. So we're kind of a supplemental program to a lot of departments at QCC, and we provide some extra support for CTE majors because quite a few majors sort of emphasize entering the workforce directly after achieving your associate's degree. So yeah, so our team kind of helps students in that process. Yeah, making sure that they're fully prepared to enter the workforce once they graduate. So some of the services that we provide um, is academic planning. We create degree maps with students, so kind of a brief outline of the courses they should be taking each semester with the right sequencing. So that's sort of giving students a breakdown of what their time at QCC will look like, um, and hopefully making your jobs easier as well, so students are somewhat prepared when they're ready to enroll. Um, we also provide a similar service with our Career Prep Academy. We will create career maps for students. So specific for each major, we kind of outline the steps they can be taking while they're at QCC to make sure that they are prepared to enter the career that they're seeking. Um, so yeah, first semester might be looking like creating a LinkedIn account, researching Handshake, and career coach as well. Um, and yeah, steps for each semester so that students are getting the relevant experience they need so that they could enter the workforce. We also provide support with resume writing, tailored to their specific industry. And we do that one-on-one meetings, and we also provide resume workshops for specific CTE majors. Um, our team, we're a growing team, and we try to respond to students within 24 business hours. Um, and we also provide skill building workshops. So we cover topics from test taking to job searching to email etiquette, um, different academic and career skills that students can hone while they're at QCC. Um, and we also partner with several departments to establish internship and apprenticeship opportunities. So we have a partnership with um, the business department for the BU 600 internship. We also have the IIT apprenticeship opportunity as well. And we also work with students so that they feel prepared to search for their own internships, um, and making sure that they're a good candidate when they do decide to pursue that. Um, let's see. And also with internship opportunities, excuse me. we will frequently reach out to students. Once they enroll in RISE, they'll receive our email listings. So we frequently send out internship job opportunities as well as scholarship opportunities for CTE specific industries. And yeah, once students enroll in RISE, they'll just fill out some basic information as well as their what they're looking for out of our services. We will reach out to them, schedule a meeting, work through a degree map or a career map with them. But also, if they don't decide to meet with us, they'll also be informed of the opportunities we have on campus, our workshops and tabling events, as well as those job and internship and scholarship opportunities that might be relevant for them as a CTE major. So yeah, that's basically a brief breakdown of what we do. I'll drop my email in the chat. If any of you come across a student that might be in a CTE major and also might get some use out of what we provide at RISE, feel free to reach out to me at any time as well. Yeah, and I can answer any questions if anyone has any.
Do you guys have any employer-sponsored events similar to career services?
Yes, we also do employer-sponsored events as well. I'm not sure what's on our calendar as of now, but yeah, we partner. I know like our health sciences, people who work with health sciences and RISE will often have partnerships with local businesses that will come to QCC. And yeah, we have similar events to career services.
Gotcha. Okay. Um, any questions for Sam at all? Anyone? Well, I think there was something in the chat. Oh, okay. That's your email. Okay. All right. Um, okay, Sam. Thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it. We always invited Rise. Always a valuable resource to have for students, and it's good to know that the advisors have multiple options when it comes to career resources. Really appreciate your time. Um, we're going to pivot again because of the scheduling and some folks who weren't able to make it. So, what I would ask is, Renee, would you be able to present, if you don't mind, off the? I know it's off the cuff. Are you there, Renee?
I am here. Yes,
Okay.
thanks, William.
If you don't mind, we'll jump. We'll have you jump ahead because I know you have a lot of content. Because our next speaker won't be on until 1 o'clock. So I figured let's pivot and use the calendar wisely. So it's all yours, Renee.
Okay, great. Thanks, Will. So have a couple of things that I'd like to share with everyone that's coming out of the transfer world, out of TRC. So many of you may know that the CUNY transfer deadline for spring 2025 has passed, the priority deadline. However, students can still submit their applications as they're still being processed based on seat availability. The SUNY deadline is going to be, actually that passed as well, October 1st, but they could still submit their applications and it would be processed. One thing that I also wanted to share with you is that if you have students that have graduated, say in the spring, and they're taking this semester off, and they want to come back to CUNY in the spring or even the fall, when they submit their application, they can submit a request to the Welcome Center, to the CUNY Welcome Center for a Reconnect CUNY fee waiver. Right now, there's still funding available to process those requests. So I would encourage a student to submit that request. All they would need to do is to send an email to the Welcome Center after submitting the application. If the funding is still available, CUNY will let them know that the fee has been waived. If not, they will then have to pay the application fee, which is $70. In addition to that, the CUNY application for fall of 2025 is also available. So a student can actually log on now through CUNY First and submit their application way ahead of the deadline, which is February 1st of next year. So just wanted to share that with you. Also, many of you, I don't know how many of you have actually looked at our website and looked at the articulation agreement page. So we're constantly adding new articulation agreements. You heard earlier this morning that there are some agreements that are in the works. We actually had a meeting this morning for an additional agreement that should be coming down the pipeline pretty shortly. So we encourage you to always check our website to see what new agreements are in place. The most recent agreement that was added was for the digital art and design program. And that's transferring to Queens College for their BFA in design. And so that's a really new one. It just was added about 2 or 3 weeks ago to the website. And just to note, when you look at the articulation agreement page, the new agreements will have like a little sunburst that says new, so you'll know those are the new ones that have been added. In addition, you can always check our website for additional information about workshops. We have some upcoming workshops this week. I will also put in the link in the chat. So I just put the link in for the articulation agreement page. I'll also share with you the link for the calendar of events as well. That's never changes, that link. All that changes would be the new workshops that we're running. We're continuing to run possibly weekly workshops on transfer overview. As we get closer to the deadline in December, we'll be running CUNY transfer application workshops, and these are all virtual workshops, as we find that it's more, it's not, I don't want to say easier, but it's just more user-friendly because we share so much information with students that we can just share the links with them through a Zoom meeting. We have 2 workshops coming up this week. Tomorrow will be the NYU CC Top info session, as well as on Wednesday, the Sociology and Human Relations program with CUNY School for Professional Studies. So we're hoping to get enough students that will register to come and learn about these 2 programs. I just wanted to also do a quick survey of the participants in the room right now. How many of you have used CUNY T-Rex? You could just use their reaction button on the bottom of the screen. You see a couple of hands. Great. How many of you? Okay, great. So that's good. And then the other question I have for you is, how many of you have used or heard about the new feature that's being launched, the transfer plans in T-Rex? And a lot of the ASAP advisors are probably on the ball for this, but anyone else heard about T-Rex transfer plans? Great. So good. So I see quite a few hands. So
Fill
one
us
of the,
in.
I'm sorry?
Fill us in, because some of us don't have that.
Okay, so this is new, and I'm also going to share with you information for CUNY-wide training on transfer plans, and they will also be doing a T-Rex refresher. So that's going to be in October on the 16th. And there are 2 workshops. I'll put the link in the chat. But T-Rex has a new plan, has a new feature called the transfer plans. And this is where students can indicate their transfer intentions by using the link that is on T-Rex. And I will share that link with you because you can easily share it with a student. We're typically going to be looking at sharing that link or marketing or promoting the transfer plans to students that are finishing up their first semester or just in the middle of their second semester, because we're thinking that they'll have the best idea of what it is that they would like to pursue. So that would be that link. And once they complete the transfer plans in T-Rex, that information will be viewable in Navigate. So we're going to be running some workshops at some later on in the semester. We can also come to your meetings that you may have, your departmental meetings, to share more information about the transfer plans and how to access it. But you will always be able to see it on the dashboard of Navigate. And this will allow for a richer conversation with students. I know we just heard from Professor Berry about the dance students. I mean, if they can indicate early enough that they're interested in dance, that would be one great way to pull that information from Navigate and to be able to share information with them and to connect them with the advisors in dance. The other good thing about transfer plans is that when it becomes the right time for students to be looking to transfer to a four-year college, the four-year institutions will also have access to those plans, and they will be able to do outreach to students based on the information that they have shared in the transfer plans. I'll also share with you a video that outlines what the transfer plans are about, how they can help a student, and how they can also help advisors to be stronger advocates for their students as well. I'll also share with you a folder with more information about that can help the advisors as well with the transfer plans.
Great.
And how to use it. So I have that in a folder that I'll send to you as well. In addition to T-Rex, there are 3 new features also in T-Rex specific for majors. So Baruch College, you know, they have their Zicklin T-Rex, which is still up and running, so students can actually view how their credits will be applied towards their program at Baruch. But there's also 2 additional T-Rex features, and they are for CCNY School of Engineering and also Lehman College for their nursing program as well. So a student can just log in and see how their courses would be applied towards those programs at those specific schools as well. Okay. Any questions? I see Carla has her hand up. Any questions before I move forward?
No, sorry, that was from earlier, your questionnaire. Thank you, though.
Oh, okay, great. Okay, so there's a lot happening in T-Rex world. As I mentioned, there is the 2 workshops will be coming up October 16th. They're going to be virtual workshops, so I strongly encourage that you know my colleagues to attend because they will be sharing so much information. And just a point of reference is also a high school T-Rex, which allows students enrolled in our College Now courses to see how those courses will fit into their programs in CUNY. If they decide to come to QCC or any other college within CUNY, they will also be able to see that. And they're also working on an additional universal T-Rex. So there's just a lot happening in that area. So the next thing that I would like to share with you as well is information about the upcoming scholarships or scholarship programs that are available for our transfer students. The one that's coming up pretty soon will be for Freedman Transfer Scholars Program, and that is with the Macaulay Honors College. So in the spring, it was the first time that Macaulay opened up admissions to transfer students, and we had a cohort of 8 students that are still in the program. Initially, it was 10, but along the way, 2 of them withdrew because it wasn't a fit for them. We still have 8 moving through the program. And for the spring, we will be beginning with info sessions for students for the spring cohort. And we're hoping to be able to cast a wider net so that we can have more students participate and apply. There's a breakdown of the students that are in the program. Right now, we have 1 student that is non-ASAP, and then the other 7 students are all ASAP students. So we'd like to cast a little bit wider net to have more students apply. One of the things, if you're not familiar with the Freedman Transfer Scholars Program, it is that students that are admitted or accepted as Freedman Scholars, they will complete their associate's degree here with us at QCC and then transition over to the Macaulay Honors College that they have selected. So the way it works will be the students that are applying, and the application will open up in January, on January 1st, and close on April 1st. Our plan is to have an info session for first-year students to introduce them to the program and to guide them on how to apply and how to prepare for the application. And we have a date scheduled. It will be November 12th. I'm in the process of booking a room so that it will be in person, so that we'll have that info session. Once we've held the info session in spring 2025, we will be working to encourage students to apply, and most likely we will have another info session so that we can encourage students to apply, and we'll be asking for your support in getting that information out to students and encouraging your students to submit the application. I know sometimes a scholarship application, students tend to shy away from it because it requires an essay or a personal statement. We've been working with the Writing Center at QCC to provide support for those students who need additional support with writing and completing their essays and getting feedback on their essays. And then come summer 2025, once the students have been accepted into the program, they will be able to take 2 courses in the summer at the Macaulay Central building in Manhattan. They will take seminars 1, which are honor seminars 1 and 2. The students will receive a Metro card for travel. All Pell eligible students will also receive a laptop. And in addition to that, students will receive a $1,200 stipend for completing the summer intensive program. And then when they come back in the fall, they'll take their classes here with us at QCC, plus 1 seminar at their Macaulay campus that they have selected and that they've been admitted to. And then spring 2026, they will complete their associate's program courses here, in addition to the last honors seminar at the Macaulay campus. So they'll be on track to graduating in spring of 2026. So the application timeline will be January 2nd, and then it will close on April 1st at 6 p.m. During that time, they will have campus interviews through April. So the students that have been selected to move to the second round will have to participate in interviews. And then by Monday, May 5th, the admissions decision letters will be sent out. And just some additional information about the eligibility. the students that we will be targeting will be second semester students in their first year. They must have a minimum of 3.5 Q GPA, and they must be enrolled and full-time and on track to complete their associate's degree by spring of 2026. So if you are aware of students that fit into this category, please start, talking to them about about this program. It's a really great program for them to participate in. The other thing that I wanted to share with you, that it is also open to international students. International students would only have to pay the difference between the in-state tuition and international tuition. So they're getting somewhat of a scholarship. So that's something to also consider as well. And I think, just make sure I hit everything on my list. I think that is it. Yeah, I think that's it for the transfer world. And Will, as I mentioned, I will send the documents. I'll send you the flyer for the Freedmen Transfer Scholars Program. I'll also send you the guide for the transfer plans as well, because there is a guide for administrators and advisors. I'll forward that to you as well. And also, there was a BTAG presentation recently last week that has additional information about T-Rex. So I'll also include that so that you can take a look at it as well. It's very helpful, along with the flyer for the upcoming CUNY-wide T-Rex training. And that's it. Thank you. So if there are any questions, I will take them now. Wow, no
It's a real
questions.
quiet bunch this morning or this afternoon.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Well, we've had to pivot a few times. We've had some speakers that aren't showing up or just haven't bothered to get back to me. So I apologize for that. What I would ask is if the registrar could come on and we'll just jump ahead of schedule. I know I have Brian and Ingrid on here. Are any of you available?
I'm here. I don't know. Did you want to go first, Ingrid, or do you want me to go first?
I am here too, but you can go first. It's okay.
Okay.
It doesn't matter to me. It's fine because at this point I've had to shovel the schedule a few times.
Oh,
So
geez.
it's at this point it's okay. Thank you so
Oh,
much. Thanks so much for being available. I appreciate it.
no, thank you. I just have a point to share. Um, is this the? It's not in presentation mode, right? You can see, like, you don't see the notes or anything like that.
It's in presentation mode. Yeah, all I see is the PowerPoint.
Okay, all right. So, just a couple of topics for me that have been brought up by some advisors. So I thought it'd be something good to touch upon. So one of the things is academic fresh start. So effective fall 2023, the time away from being from QCC was changed from 4 years to 2 years. So it's been decreased. So that opens up the eligibility for our applicants for fresh start students. The GPA recalculation happens at the end of the term. So I know have been some confusion where the beginning of the semester, students and advisors have asked, the GPA is still the same, but that's because the cleanup happens at the end. So, if students have any questions, you can always refer them to the Fresh Start website. But this is the little notation. So it happens at the end after the withdrawal period, but also at the end of grading, because if a student gets all WUs, they're not eligible for the recalculation. So that's why it has to happen at that point in time, rather than the beginning. So, students who withdraw completely are no longer eligible for academic fresh start. So that counts Ws, WDs, WNs, and WU grades. Students must complete at least one course during the semester they were readmitted for a fresh start. So even if they complete one course and they got an F in it, they still are eligible for a fresh start and they still can get their GPA recalculated. Of course, the semester that they're readmitting, that F is still going to count towards their GPA, but everything else will be cleaned up. So most questions, if it's students or even if it's advisors, you can direct those questions to freshstart@qcc.cuny.edu. I'm probably going to take questions on each topic per slide, so that way it's a little more cohesive. So are there any questions on Fresh Start? Nope. All right.
Hold on, Brian. I have one actually because I've
Yeah.
dealt with a couple cases real quick. So for Fresh Start, the student has to be fully enrolled in the classes that maybe they're retaking, and then they have to pass those classes in order for Fresh Start to kick in, correct?
They don't necessarily have to pass class. So if they get like an F, just as long as they complete the course and it's not like any form of W grade, then they would be eligible for a fresh start. So let's say if they are retaking an English 102 for fall 2024, and they get an F on it, then that's fine. We can still recalculate GPA for all the other courses prior to fall 2024.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Yes, there's one in the chat.
Uh,
What if a student was approved for FS but didn't take any courses that semester and deferred to the next semester?
oh, if they didn't take any courses, as long as they didn't drop during when the term starts, that's okay. So if let's say they dropped on August 27th, which was before classes started, then it doesn't they don't get penalized. They could just apply again for another semester. They should reapply for a fresh start because that's how we would know that they're coming back. Without the application, we wouldn't know that they exist. Any other questions?
I think we're good.
All right. So the next topic is Renee kind of talked about for Macaulay Honors. It is fairly new, so there are some things in terms of the process that may be a little bit unclear. So we noticed that some students have applied for their e-permits because that's how they're taking these courses at other CUNYs. But the process for that is that we're actually notified of these students and what host college is they're going to be going to, what classes that they're going to take, and we do the e-permits on their behalf. So the Macaulay Honors students, they don't have to file the e-permits. In reality, they're going to get denied because the course that it's supposed to come in is not selectable. So that's why we have to create them ourselves because only we really have the ability to select the courses that it's supposed to transfer in as. So the permit is created by Office of the Registrar, not by the students. And then afterwards, we usually notify Renee and Macaulay Honors. Okay, so these students have their e-permits created, and then the host college would create their accounts, let them register for courses, and then the student still has to register for a course at the host college themselves. So I know there are a couple of concerns from some advisors that were saying, oh, my student got denied for the e-permit. It still hasn't been processed. It's because we get the list and then we create it ourselves. So any questions on that? All right. Overrides. I know this has been kind of a topic recently. So overrides should be done cautiously. And overrides for closed classes, also known as overtallies, do always require academic departmental consent. One of the things to be on the lookout for is for out courses too. So one of the things that happens is sometimes that there are, you'll find that let's say MA 10 has 20 out of 20, but MA 119 has 19 out of 20. So those are like uneven numbers. So what you could do is, you could let us know that there are uneven numbers so that way we can look into it. I would not advise in putting an overtally into the course to kind of put the other course into a capacity, because what ends up happening is one way or another, one student is going to get dropped. So while you might be fixing one problem, in the end, one of the students ends up getting hurt because they had to get dropped out of the class. So it'd be good to avoid that. What you could do is just let us know. Maybe one advisor forgot to put in the linked course, but the courses are supposed to be linked. Sometimes what might happen is if you do like a class link override, that sometimes that separates that. So just be very cautious with overrides, especially not going down the line of doing every override, because sometimes you might have these kind of situations with that, especially for the ALP courses. Credit overload. So I think it sounds like maybe the processes have changed throughout QCC's history. So the way it works now is that it does require approval. So it starts with the advisors. They put a recommendation that is for a student to do a credit overload. So not necessarily putting in the credit overload override when doing the enrollment, but you can let us know that the student is looking to take more credits, and then just put in the justification and reasoning as to why, and then we'll let you know what the decision is. So we could put in the credit overload. We'll usually put a increase the limit capacity, so that way the student can enroll into a course itself. Something else that has changed somewhat recently is incomplete grades must be completed 2 weeks prior to the beginning of class. Not in terms of so it doesn't lapse, but in terms of if it's a prerequisite. So let's say if it's an English 101 and they want to go into English 102, but they have an incomplete for English 101, they have to complete that incomplete grade 2 weeks prior to the semester starting in order to maintain their seat in English 102. And then prerequisite override for transfer credits. So something that you want to be mindful of is that the credit must be posted on CUNY first, so that way we can catch. So that way they don't get dropped by PERC. So you might see sometimes it's a CIP, like an English 101 is a CIP, and then you might do an override for English 102. So sometimes students might get dropped from that, but also there have been situations where maybe something happened and the course wasn't posted, it was under evaluation. And so if you put them in English 102 and the credit isn't posted, then we'll have to, find out what happened, contact the transfer credit unit, and then make sure that the class is posted. Sometimes we've had some situations where a course was not going to be transferred. It wasn't posted, but the course wasn't transferred, was not going to be transferred over, so they had to remove it. But I think probably what happened was an advisor saw the course for it to potentially be posted and transferred, but that was not the case. So just be cautious of that when or at least be mindful of when doing an override for prerequisites. I see Arthur asked, does the system recognize in the linked ALP section between ALP and non-ALP? Sorry, Arthur, could you elaborate on that?
Hey, Brian. Yeah, so what I meant to say by that is there's linked ALP sections like English 101 that are some are for specifically ALP students, and then the non-English one, sorry, the non-ALP section will have, let's say, 25 students, so we'll say. It will say 10 out of 25 already enrolled, but let's say 15 seats are reserved. What I found is that the system doesn't differentiate those first 10 enrolled between ALP and non-ALP students. So it could be all ALP students, but they see it as already, taken away from the continuing students, from the non-ALP students, if that makes any sense.
So you're talking about, okay, so 10 out of 25. So the 10 is the non-ALP section, right?
So let's say in ALP, there's an English 101 that's split in half. 15, let's say, are ALP students, and then let's say the other 15 are non-ALP students. So let's say a limit of 30. let's say 15 are already enrolled, what I found is even in the non-ALP English that says like 30 total, it won't differentiate between the students that are enrolled, whether they be ALP students or non-ALP. And it will take away from students that are non-ALP, if that makes sense.
That my the ALP portion I was talking about tailored more towards the math. In terms of this English portion, I don't think it takes that into consideration, but I could check with our scheduler for that to
Because
see.
it's those combined Englishes that cause problems, because then we see that there's available seats in a non-ALP English 101, or at least we see that as that. And then we
Mhm.
try to enroll and it says students, those seats are reserved, but we don't
Mhm.
understand why. And I think that sometimes advisors are like, well, there's no ALP, there's no nothing on it, so I'm just gonna override it.
Mhm.
And I think that's where some of the overrides come in and are done, which kind of messes with the numbers then.
Okay. I don't think it actually is capable of differentiating, pulling like the sections apart. Um, but I can always double check just in case. But I'm pretty sure that it doesn't. It's not capable of
Yeah, it's
accept.
the combined sections that usually cause trouble.
Yeah, yeah. Um, I'll send an email to William. Would you be the good person point of contact, Will? And then
Yes.
okay.
Yes, Brian.
So
Thank you.
no problem. I'll double check that for you, but I'm pretty sure it's.
Thank you.
What's the protocol? So Olivia asked, what's the protocol with drop course sections and why is it dropped a few days before the semester begins? So it depends. So like this semester, we had a lot of workshop courses. So, and they ended very close to the beginning of classes beginning. So of course we had to wait for the grades to come in before we could drop the students for perk. So, and then if a student ends up getting like a W or they fail the course, then they end up having to be dropped from the next level course. So if we're talking like a BE USIP workshop, and then they get a fail or an R, we had and the classes end maybe some. I think this semester we had some that ended. The last day of classes was a week before classes began, and then professors have 2 days to submit their grades afterwards. So it comes really close in how that impacts PERT. And then I know if they get dropped from English 101, it's going to also impact their social science courses as well. So it's really ultimately up to the courses and what they get from classes and when the classes end. Was a protocol for drop course sections? Well, could you clarify what you mean about the protocol for drop course sections? Oh, you mean like if they're canceled?
Yes, cancel courses.
Oh, okay. I mean, some departments they ask to move certain students into other sections that have the same time meeting times, or sometimes if they're like online sections, and then they ask us to move them over as well. So when you say the protocol, do you mean in terms of advisors, or do you mean in terms of like how does it happen?
Before this semester began, I've noticed a lot of like the language courses, the 200 level language courses and the 200 level psychology courses were dropped. And I got the list a few days before the semester began. So it was like kind of a scramble to get our students to be full-time again. So I just wanted to know, like, with those type of courses, not the ALP or the BE sections, what's the reasoning for the late drop? And if there's any way to get it dropped earlier or get lists sent out a little bit earlier, just so we're not frazzled by the end of the semester.
So if it's like canceled courses, there are certain dates where they drop or they cancel courses. In terms of perk, I mean, if they're registered for like, especially for summer courses, if it's like a close time frame of when the semester ends or when we get the grades in, and when the classes begin, it's going to uh, kind of alter when we're able to drop the courses. Arthur has his hand up.
Sorry about that. Yeah, just kind of elaborate on that. A lot of times when 200 level foreign languages or the not the fundamental ones are closed, it affects graduation and then students end up scrambling. I was wondering before those, let's say, Spanish 112 and higher level courses, before they're dropped, is there a way for someone to screen the students that are in those sections to make sure it doesn't affect graduation?
You mean like if they're canceling courses?
Yeah, so let's say they cancel Italian 112, for example. Is there a way for them to check if there's any students that needed to graduate before like those classes canceled? So then, we're not frazzled in trying to find alternative options at that point.
Yeah, they do take that into consider. Departments do take that into consideration when they're choosing what sections to cancel. So they already do that. They already weigh that into the decision making.
I've just had a few that come in like literally the last day of enrollment, like the first week of the semester, just realizing that the last class that they need or that foreign language class is dropped and then they needed to graduate. And then we have to try and see if there's another foreign language that they can take and the chair can override or substitute it or something.
Yeah, currently they do make that. I mean, not that they're not, I'm saying that, if there's one student there that they're not going to cancel it at all, but it is part of their, I guess you could sort of say, algorithm in their decision making for what sections to cancel. So it's already something that they implement.
Okay. Yeah, I know that e-permit was one of the suggestions, but if it's very late in the game, the e-permit's already gone by that point. So if it could be done before e-permit closes.
Well, okay, so if you have a student in that situation, they can always email us, and even though if it's a deadline, if it's a situation where they need to graduate, it's something that a student can request to do a manual e-permit, and we can look into it. Usually, if it's going to be like a graduation, that's a substantial reasoning as to why they need to submit an application after the deadline. So students can speak to us about our e-permit.
Thank you.
I think Mandy had written something first, and then Khadijah put her hand up. So let me get to Mandy first. If a student earns a WN for English 101, their required co-requisite course remains for WN and MA 119. They still keep the okay. So student earns a WN for okay. So like if they're registered for English 101, and let's say they're registered for Psych 101, so it depends on the situation. So if they are for the social science courses, if I think some of the confusion also happens with these courses is that if for social science, if they are English reading writing proficient, then it'll be okay. They could stay in the Psych 101. However, if they are not English reading writing proficient, and they somehow got into English 101, then the co-requisite would have to get dropped. So let's say you use Math 119 and 121 as so if they got a WN for MA 119, what time frame are we looking at here?
Hi Brian, it's Mandy.
Hi.
So if they earned a WN in the after the first few weeks of the semester,
okay,
in Math 119, they've lost their Math 119, but they're still enrolled in Math 121 because they're attending, or it hasn't even say it has begun.
okay.
Are they allowed to keep the Math 121, or the case with the English? I know like history has a co-rec of English 101, not just a developmental, but co-rec. Would the history automatically be dropped if they got a WN in English 101?
So if we're talking about, let's say, before the classes if the courses began and the student withdrew from the history, the co-requisite course, then the English would have to also get dropped. I'm sorry, the co-requisite would also have to get dropped. But if it's like this 119, let's say classes began and they got a WN and then they're enrolled in the MA 121, they should withdraw from the course. PERC stops running by the time the semester begins.
So it doesn't get auto dropped. The co-rec doesn't get auto dropped. They can actually stay in it and complete it for the semester.
They should not. I mean, they should. I mean, they. What I can say is that PERC won't drop them from the
Right.
course.
Or like a history 110 they don't get auto dropped from a history if they earned a WN in English 101. Say the fourth week of the semester, the history will not be auto dropped.
Oh, okay, right.
They keep it. Okay. Thank you, Brian.
No problem. I mean, ideally, they probably may want to withdraw because they may not be prepared for the co-requisite, but PERC doesn't run after the semester starts, especially if it's going to be the fourth week of the semester. They're not going to get dropped from the courses by PERC.
Okay.
Just to add on to that, that won't really be an issue, but what can cause an issue is a Math 121 that's early in the semester and a student fails it or gets a grade for it. If they get a grade for it before the Math 119, then try to withdraw from the Math 119, they won't be able to because the co-requisite for the Math 120 for the Math 119 is the 121 or vice versa. I mean.
So the 121 requires Math 119, but
yes.
they could also still register for the later sessions too. So they could still take it within that semester.
Yeah, or I've been just referring them to the math department, sorry, to the registrar to try to withdraw from the Math 119 and get an override because the Math, the 121 already has a WN, a WU, or any of those grades. And they're struggling in Math 119, then they have to go to the registrar to get assistance with withdrawing from that class.
Yeah. So in those cases, yes, they won't be able to withdraw from Math 119. So yeah, they'll have to ask for which we could do for them.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much for the extra questions. Brian, if you could just move on, and then any questions, please just email to Brian because we're running short on time and it's taking a lot. Thank you.
Okay. Yep. So this is the last slide. Just to remember that there's a enrollment purposes versus graduation purposes. So anything that's on CUNY first deals with enrollment requirements. So that involves PERC and anything really involving enrollment. DegreeWorks pulls data from CUNY first to use as an advisement tool for graduation purposes. So CUNY first impacts DegreeWorks, but not the other way around. It's like a one-way street, one way. So an example of that is students can fulfill graduation requirements, but not enrollment requirements. So this is kind of like a little what you might see in DegreeWorks. So you'll see over here, Spanish second course is fulfilled by this LS112, but they have a C minus. So anything that's going to require LS112 as a prerequisite, they won't be able to register. Even though we see over here in DegreeWorks, they fulfilled that graduation requirement. But again, DegreeWorks is for graduation purposes, CUNY First is for enrollment purposes. So something like waivers fulfills enrollment and graduation requirements because like a course is put in, like a placeholder course is put into CUNY First. So that's why it fulfills the enrollment purposes, and it also fulfills the graduation requirements. So an example would be MA 119 and MA 121 waivers would allow a student to register for the MA 440 and fulfill their MQR requirements in DegreeWorks. And the substitutions only impact graduation requirements in DegreeWorks, but not necessarily enrollment requirements. And that's it. That's all I've got. All right. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
So yeah, just in case if you need my email,
sure.
Chat.
Yeah, please put it in the chat because trust me, there's a lot of questions in regards to this. It's just we're limited a little bit on time. Okay, so because we have to jump around, I'm going to actually pivot back to Alpha. Alpha, are you there?
I'm here.
Hi, how are you? Thanks for being patient.
I'm good.
The floor is all yours. Thank you.
All right. So I'm going to share my screen. Pretty much I'm going to touch on the basics of admissions, things we come across a lot with
and this is the first time we've had admissions. Just a reminder for all the training folks. Thank you for coming.
Well, thank you for having me. All right. So today I'm pretty much going to go quickly over milestones, test scores, exemptions, like I said, things that come across our desk a lot in terms of advising ESL indicator, matriculation, different student types, holds, communications, and then we can look at questions and suggestions. So the first things I wanted to touch on was milestones, test scores and exemption. I want to quickly bring up a student record so we can take a look at it. Just quickly. Because a lot of times we have advisors asking, for an index or a milestone to be created for a student. And there are times where there's existing test scores or even the no index milestones. One of the things I wanted to mention is student summary view. Everyone can see my screen, right?
Yes.
Okay. So I tell everyone, and I'm not just talking advisors across the campus, try to use student summary view. CUNY designed student summary view so everyone will have access to pretty much anything in the student record without the ability to edit. And that's the beauty of student summary view. Anything you're looking for, and I'm talking any and everything you're looking for would be there. There are times we have people asking for students' external ID numbers, and stuff like that. That would pretty much be here. Student summary view can be very overwhelming. So I like to collapse everything. That makes it much easier to work through. So in terms of student milestones.
Alpha, sorry to interrupt. We're seeing the PowerPoint screen.
You're seeing the PowerPoint screen? Oh, I'm sorry. Let me share this screen as well. There you go. All right. Are we all seeing it now?
Yep, we're good now. Thank you.
Okay. So like I was saying, student summary view, collapsing everything because expanded view is just a little overwhelming. So I like to collapse everything and then navigate to the area I'm interested in. So student milestones and even test scores. In this example, I wanted to bring it up because this student has full test scores, as you can see here, posted in addition to having taken like reading, writing, and then this student also has a no index milestone. Briefly, a no index milestone we would use for students that we cannot generate an index for. So an example would be a student that maybe came in with an associate degree or even a bachelor's degree, and it could be a fine arts degree. They never took a college level math, believe it or not. So in that case, we have proof that they've completed high school. They even have a degree, but there is no way for us to calculate a math index for them. So we give them a no index milestone. These students, during advising, it would be up to the advisor and the student to determine what level of math the students should be placed into. At this point, they can take any college level math. So we will put that in for those students. No index milestones do not show up anywhere else other than here. So if you're in student summary and student view or student center, you won't see it. And that is part of the reason I want to encourage people as much as possible to navigate to student summary view. Okay. Another case I wanted to show you guys, let me briefly go to it, is, was it this student? Let's see. No. A student that initially was not proficient, and then after they tested and became proficient off of that. The reason I wanted to bring up that one was because it showed, let's see, right. As you can see, there is no math proficiency in this student. But then you see test scores. So a lot of times too, we get, well, there's no math index. But if you open up the testing section, you will see that the student took the math test or they has algebra regions or whatever the case is. And then they have the proficiency index score at place here. It's not showing up here because these milestones, initially it wasn't a milestone. It's only after they run the index that you will see it here. So typically an index, test scores will generate an index, which will then generate a milestone. All right, and this student only became math proficient back in orders. So it's more than likely soon the system will pick it up and then they will get a math milestone here. All right. Let's see. So let's go back to the presentation. All right, let's see what else. Let me just minimize this. Oh, and I wanted to touch on, sometimes you won't see like a Queensborough test scores. You might see something like an SO9 or a CATS. These are all different ways they list the test scores, the way names for them. Once they have test scores, though, regardless of the data source, it is a test score that you can use. Next, I wanted, Arthur, you have a question, or is that from prior?
No, I had a question. Sorry, I thought that
That's
had changed for the no index. I thought they were supposed to go into Alps.
No, it still stands.
Really? I think the last email we have says that they're supposed to go into Alps. Because
For the
there's also
index milestones?
for both. There's no mile
Well,
index.
you know what? I would take up whatever you say because you're the advisor. You would know clearer than me. Based on my understanding, they are math proficient. And they can go into college level math, whatever the level it is.
Because we do need to do an override for something like that.
Like I said, I'm not too sure. I would speak to one of the associate directors over there and then let you know. The chart that I have at this point says with a no index milestone, they can go into math 119 or math 114 plus an app. So I guess it's certain classes. They can go into math 335, which is criminal justice. So from the chart, you're right. Some of them do say ALP and some of them don't say ALP. I hope that cleared it up and I didn't confuse you more.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So moving on, the ESL indicator. Who gets an ESL indicator? It's pretty much anybody whose first language is not English. Most times we like to think of foreign students when we think of this, but there are a lot of domestic students that will have an ESL indicator. And the reason for that is because they took any remediation class during high school. There are times you're going to meet a student that's fluent in English and you don't think they need the ESL test at all. I am able, and a couple of us in admissions are able to remove that ESL indicator. However, we can only remove it temporarily because the next day the system automatically generates that index again, that service indicator again. Okay. So if you have a student that you need to advise and you need to take off that ESL service indicator, we can remove it. It's just a matter of asking us. Once you get the student in, the next day the system will automatically pull it back. And the reason for that, CUNY is doing that for data purposes, record keeping. They plan to see how the students that are coded as ESL, the domestic student coded as ESL, how many of them truly need and how they place in the ESL test. Okay. So for these domestic students, with the ESL indicator that you think truly needs to be tested, I highly recommend that you allow them, you make them test before they get advising. So if any of you are making advising appointments and the student has the ESL indicator and you feel they do need to test, they should before, just so they could be placed in their classes correctly. However, for international students, I know some of you help out Jeff with advising of the students. These students should be advised before taking the test. And the reason for that is they must be advised for classes before they can come into the country. And there is no way for them to test at this moment in any online form. So international students can be advised without having taken the test. Okay. Any questions on ESL indicators? Okay, so I'll move along. Matriculation and student types. So we have a process, we call it the mass matriculation process. And what that is anybody that's been admitted who have accepted their offer, Once they accept the offer, at the end of the day, IT runs a mass matriculation force where it picks up every student that's at the DEIN, which means intent to matriculate level. Overnight, the students get their matriculation through the IT process. So a lot of times when the advisors are screening for their appointments, you know, the people that are being proactive, which is amazing, they will call us and say, this student's not matriculated as yet, and I have an appointment with them in 2 days. We ask that you give the system time for the process to go through, because we do get a lot of outreach from multiple departments all across the campus, you know, because like registrar, we're records keeping. And to manually do these matriculations does cut into our day quite often when there's a system that's designed to pick up these students. And there are times some of these students get, you know, missed by the system because the system cannot mass matriculate somebody who has a prior record with us. These we must do manually. But for an incoming freshman, you know, the typical incoming freshman who have no record with us, this mass matriculation process would pick them up. Unlike transfers, because I'll go into transfer credit evaluations soon next, transfers and admissions, we get an email of the list of students who have appointments the next day. We get those emails first thing in the morning. So for students with Tuesday appointments, we would get an email first thing Monday morning saying, these are the students with appointments on Tuesdays. We then go through those to make sure all transfer credits evaluations are posted. Also that they've all been DEIN, you know, term activated, they have their enrollment appointments, any missing indexes, and we just clean it up. So like I said, for the people that are screening way in advance, like it would help if you wait until the day before. So there are times you might notice, hey, the appointment is tomorrow and it's 3 p.m. and this record isn't clean. Feel free then to reach out to me, okay? The next thing I want to touch on, you guys should all know this, what are freshmen, transfer student, readmits, or non-degrees, continuing student. Anything continuing student goes to the registrar, you know. Freshman students, I want to mention that there are times you're going to see students coming in as a freshman with tons of credits. I'm talking something 30, 40 something credits. They are still considered freshmen if all of those credits were taken as advanced, like AP courses or like college now courses. There are some really ambitious students, but they're still coded as freshmen, not transfer. All right, a transfer would be somebody who has attended any form of higher secondary post-high school program. Unlike, you know, readmit is a student that was here previously. We are noticing more and more non-degree students are trying to get advising appointments. They should not, and you should not be seeing non-degree students. If you do see a non-degree student coming for advising, you know, we do every now and then get this student doesn't have an index posted. We are not able to post indexes for non-degree students. We can post exemptions if they provide credits that show that they have met the requirements, but that's as far as it can do. There's no index posting for any of them. Any questions so far? I've been going on for a while. All right. So moving forward, fraudulent applications. Unfortunately, we saw one this semester. We typically don't see them often, but fraudulent applications is a big problem in the CUNY world. And those are students that intentionally left out a prior college that they attended on their application. Why they would do that? Sometimes they think that their bad grades will affect them getting into a program. A lot of times, which is what happens most of the time, is they owe their past institution money and they cannot get the transcript. So they leave that off. But there are many possible problems that can come up with these. For example, taking a class over again. You know, this semester, the student that came up was signed up for 2 or 3 classes that they already took in the past, and there was financial aid implications here because financial aid would not pay for the same class again. So if you're in an advising session and a student mentions that they attended another class, college, or they've taken a class before, if you can please be mindful to ask them, have you been to college before? And if they are a transfer student in a freshman advising session, you want to bring that to our attention, or at least bring up to them that there is, you know, a negative implication to this. And these students are actually banned from CUNY across the board, all CUNY schools, for 5 years. That is not an easy penalty. So you have to bring that up to us and to the student if this ever happens, if you suspect it of happening. I briefly touched on early pre-college credits already. So Cleveland CUNY Start students. The Cleveland CUNY Start students, you know, their incoming freshmen or transfers. Something I want to bring to your attention, which I'm sure most of you knew, but some people get confused, is when a student applies to us and they then go into CLIP and CUNY Start, we change them to non-matriculated status. And the reason for that is because they're not taking college level classes yet. When they're coming back to see advising regularly as college to take college credit classes, we then move them back to matriculated status. We still consider these students freshmen and transfers. You have a question, Matthew?
I'm sorry, just at the end of the slide is fine.
I'm sorry, say that again?
I didn't mean to interrupt. You can
okay,
finish out the slide.
Okay. Well, pretty much that's it for this slide.
All right, very good then. I noticed that on the student summary for admissions, we used to be able to see like AP 07 or AP 35 or whatever, you know, advanced placement test that they took. And previously I was able to look it up on the website, the AP number, and then see what score they would need in order to get credits. Those AP abbreviations are now gone off the website. Is there any bringing those back, or like what happened?
So I actually was going to touch on this new page. So are you familiar with this? One sec, let me pull it up and share it with you. Are you seeing my screen right now? Is it
the student summary view?
Yes. So actually, it's not this one that I wanted to show you. It's this one. Are you familiar with this page?
Yes, that's what I used to look at.
So
But
they
now
moved it because they changed it. So I will post the link in the chat. They've made it much more extensive.
yeah, I see it's a lot more courses than what were
Yes,
normally there
because
prior.
CLEPs, we were not as you know, we used to take CLEP classes, and now we're taking them, and it gives you a breakdown of all of it. The DTS. I am not gonna go through this because I don't know what most of this means. Lisa and Kinieta, the transfer team, would be most helpful with this. But as I'm scrolling further, you can see they have made this page very, very extensive. And I do have it as one of my useful links to share with you guys. I mean, it goes on and on. Very, very helpful. So I will post that in the chat right now before I forget. But I will send a copy of my presentation to Natalie, and she can share it with you guys. Okay, so let me just get back to Zoom. Okay, so okay,
Sorry.
communication. Go ahead.
Oh yeah, no, Arthur just touched based on it. The what I was actually asking about prior on the webpage, it would actually have the AP-07 or AP-35, and then you could look up the course that it was associated with, because they're not listing out like calculus AB under the student summary or the milestones or anything that way. So we kind of have to take the student's word on it as far as what exam scores they have coming in. were prior, I would be able to look them up based off of the scores that were taken in from admissions.
So if the student does not provide us with the scores, it wouldn't be in CUNY first. There are sometimes it get loaded, you know, based on the high school, and CUNY will automatically load it when they load the DOE data. But if it does not get loaded with the DOE data, you have to tell the student to bring in a copy of their scores to us. It doesn't need to be anything official. They can just print it off from the AP site, and we will take that.
Right. No, what I'm saying is the scores would be there under
Yeah.
the admissions, but it would give the abbreviation of AP-35
Oh, I don't
or
know.
whatever it was.
CUNY makes so many changes. Would degree work show that?
No, well, not that I've ever seen. I'll put it that way.
I mean, I will take a note of it and ask Lisa and Kinieda and see if they can provide me finance, and I'll share it with you guys.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Oh, my pleasure. Okay. And you know, you actually allow me to segue right into this, you know, communication in terms of reaching out to different teams. I did mention the advising list screening, because there's a number of you guys, you know, in advising in terms of academy advising, ASAP advisors, you know, CUNY Stat, there's quite a lot of different advising units that reach out to us. And I like to say different people have their favorite people, where Arthur might be calling me and Jeff might be calling somebody else.
You know it.
It's easier sometimes, you know, to screen through Natalie and Gail, or funnel requests through Natalie and Gail, because a lot of times we do get questions of things that Natalie and Gail would have the answer to. And it just cleans up the process a little more, bit in terms of the number of requests that we have coming to us. And we do love hearing from you guys, just sometimes, especially when it gets really busy in those months of like January and August. It's not always easy keeping on top of everything. And on our end, it actually creates errors, or it, you know, because there's just so many distractors. And when you're dealing with records, we have to be very careful. Okay. I did speak to the transfer team in terms of the best way to reach out to them. They're very partial to Teams and emails. However, I did mention to them that they have to take phone calls. You know, they're asked that we prioritize how we reach out to them in terms of Teams, emails, and then if you don't hear back from them in like 10 minutes, you can give them a call. Because they said on their case too, it's sometimes usually they're in the middle of something and they might not be able to pick up the call, or whatever the case is. Our residency team, I included the email here for you guys. Like I mentioned earlier, we only see new incoming freshmen and transfer residency gets addressed in our office. Anybody with a continuing record, the residency is dealt with in the registrar. And international students, you know, a lot of times when you're advising them, they are not always aware that they can get credits for college classes that they took in their country. You know, if you can advise them to get a course by course evaluation and have that sent into international admissions at Queensborough, the course by course evaluation is not cheap. You know, it costs a couple $100, some based on the agency you go through, it could be $300 to $500. We have a list on our website of different ones. However, even if they get credit for only one course, and the average course is a little over $1,000. So you would be saving them some money even if they pay for that course by course evaluation. So I like to tell students, do the course by course evaluation and see if you can get some credits just to save some money. Okay, any questions on who to reach out to and stuff like that? All right, and moving along. Oh, there's one more thing I wanted to mention earlier, the CUNY proficiency requirements page. You know, a lot of times the question of what would give students an exemption in terms of the CUNY, this page right here is very, very helpful. All right, it shows you what courses, what scores gives exemptions for the CUNY index in terms of math and English. Okay, and even in terms of associate programs and where they would be placed. So I wanted to also post that link for you guys. Okay, any questions? Go ahead, Ingrid.
Yes, hi, thank you. Thank you, Elfa, for this presentation. It has been amazing. I would like just to add something. For graduation purposes, for example, we don't take into considerations about regions or SAT scores. We go by the milestone placement or the waivers from the math department, just because we don't do we don't really look into every single score for the students from high school. So I just would like to make that clarification so there is no misunderstanding about this. It's not that we don't want to check into those things, it's just that there is a reason why the milestone and also the placement are there. So in this case, is when the student doesn't have one, when they have like a bachelor's degree or other degrees in another colleges, it's better just to consult with the math department, right? If it is a math waiver that is needed, just to be on the safe side, because we don't want just not to say that we don't want to do it because it's not the truth. It's just that we are based in different scores, right? So we for example, manage the same table that Arthur was mentioning. We have the same table too. So we go for the math score or the English score that is on that table. So for us, it's actually easier to do also the scribing. So we cannot do that. We cannot really do it by every single region score or ACT. So it's just to clarify that.
Okay, perfect. Well, this is the end for me. If anyone has any questions.
Oh, I think there were plenty. So that being said, again, we're crunched for time, and I've had to thank you for everyone's contributions so far. Next, I'd like to include, if there's not any other questions for Alpha, any last minute questions? Okay, thank you, Alpha. I'm going to move on next to financial aid. Marianne, thanks for your patience. Are you there?
I'm here, Will. I'm here.
Thank you for holding on. I appreciate it.
Okay. All right. So let's see. Good afternoon, everyone. Happy Monday. Let's see. All right. Let me just bring up my share screen. And let's see. Okay. Get my presentation here in a second. Just give me 1 second. Okay. All right, everybody. Hope everybody's doing well. So today I just wanted to talk about some financial aid information in CUNY first. And this has been a big change year for financial aid with a lot of changes to the FAFSA. So I just wanted to talk about those. So we're going to talk about, I'm going to show you some things in the Student Service Center, just as far as applying for financial aid. Students complete the FAFSA. We want everyone to complete the FAFSA and the TAP application. And there's the link when they complete the FAFSA at the end of the FAFSA to start their state aid application. So sometimes students miss that, but we want to encourage everybody to try to do the TAP at the same time that they do the FAFSA. And then as far as different types of aid, we have the federal aid. The Pell Grant, is the primary one that, many of our students receive. Students that receive Pell, some of them get SEOG, which is a federal grant that the campuses are given money. It's a campus-based program. So each college is allocated funds to award to students. And then as far as the state goes, we have TAP, we have part-time TAP. I know Maureen had done, there was a presentation that we did, I think, back in March, talking about different things, and her and Diana spoke about facts and so forth. But for the state side, there's TAP, there's part-time TAP, and then there's APTS for students taking as little as 3 credits to be considered for these programs. So the Aid for Part-Time Study, it's a program that students can be considered for if they are not full-time. Institutional aids, scholarships from the college, information about the various scholarships is, on our website. And outside scholarships, we post information there and update it, and reminder emails go out to students. So we encourage them to look at our webpage. We have a lot of information there, and as different scholarships become available that we're aware of, the information is posted. So as far as changes, let me just say, as far as changes to the FAFSA. So for 24-25, anyone who provides information on the FAFSA is considered a contributor. So it doesn't say parent or spouse, it's a contributor. So all of those people are considered contributors. And then all contributors must consent and approve to have the IRS, their tax information rather, retrieved from the IRS. So they have to consent to that automatic importing of the data from the IRS. All contributors must have a studentaid.gov account, which is their FSA ID. Each student, each parent or spouse, or whoever that's providing information on the form, would need to have their own FSA ID. And the formula used to determine financial aid has changed, right? We've had the word EFC for the longest time. I think I've been in this for like 30 years, and it's been EFC. Now it's SAI is the new term for instead of EFC. So the maximum SAI to receive Pell, to be Pell eligible, is $66.55. But again, the terminology has changed. It's not EFC, it's SAI. And another big change is that the Pell Awards are based on enrollment intensity. So before, if a student had a EFC of 0, right? If they had an EFC of 0, their Pell Award was based on if they were full-time, 12 or more credits, and they had an EFC of 0, their Pell was one amount. If they were 3/4 time, it was one amount. If it was half-time or less than half-time. Now, the Pell Awards, when they say enrollment intensity, it's looking at the specific credits. So it's if somebody's 6 credits, 7 credits, it's not the same for anybody between 6 and 8.5 credits. It's based on actual specific number of credits they're enrolled for. So that's a change for this year. Let's just see. And then, so then here we have the Student Service Center. When students complete the FAFSA, what happens? What's the process then after they complete it? So in about 7 to 10 days, the colleges receive the FAFSA information. It's loaded into CUNY First. And the students that are not selected for verification, they would, receive their awards. You would see it in the you would see it in the Student Service Center, the financial aid tab. And then students where the government is selecting them for verification, those students, when you log into the Student Service Center, in the to-do list, you would see this requirement to verify my FAFSA. So that would be listed in the to-do list. And then when students click on that link, they would be brought to Student Forms, which is our secure portal that students use to upload their documents. So the student would click on Verify My FAFSA. It brings them to Student Forms. They log in, and then they can see the different tasks that they have, whatever documents they need to submit. They submit them through Student Forms, and then the process is currently, it's about 2 to 3 weeks is the processing time for the verification. And once the verification is complete, the Verify My FAFSA task it won't be on the to-do list any longer. That will be completed. And then CUNY First is updated, and the students would then receive their award letter via email, and their awards would show up in CUNY First as anticipated aid, so that the bursar can see those awards, and then we disperse the awards on a weekly basis. Let's see. So basically, so I explained all that the counselor reviews them reviews the documents that come in, what the processing time is, and that if the student doesn't submit the required documents, the Verify My FAFSA checklist remains on CUNY First, as initiated, and the student receives communications from Central through CUNY First, right? Email notifications for missing documents. They also receive text messages and emails through student forms for missing documents. And in addition, we do some of our own outreach. We work with Angelica, and I've had, I send her data every couple of weeks, about every 2 weeks for this population of people missing documents. So then she sends out the branded, email communications with our school colors and everything, and to students to log in and that they're missing documents, and to log in and see what they're missing, and submit those documents. So, and then in addition, other outreach that we're doing right now is, we've communicated last week to students that didn't apply for TAP, right? So they filed a FAFSA, but they didn't apply for TAP, or they have errors on their TAP application. Maybe they filed, but New York State is requesting additional information from them. They need to correct something. So those people also receive communications. We sent communications out to students who are part-time and they didn't do the CUNY supplement. So to be considered for the APTS program, students have to complete the supplement, which is available in the Student Service Center. It doesn't mean that every student that completes the supplement is awarded APTS, unlike Pell, which is an entitlement program. So all the students that are eligible, regardless of the number of students, if they're eligible, they meet all the criteria, then they would be able to get the Pell. But the APTS program, again, it's a campus program that the schools receive an allocation. But we want students to do the supplement so that we tell them it's not a guarantee, but this way you can be considered. Sometimes, students may not complete it because they feel like, oh, I'm not going to be part-time. But things change. Like maybe next semester they're going to be part-time. Things that you may intend to go full-time, and different things happen and you decide to end up going part-time. So we like to encourage everybody to get everything on file. FAFSA, TAP, supplement, cover all your bases. And then we'll also be outreaching to students this week that are not meeting SAP for federal purposes, for federal aid purposes. They are not meeting SAP, so we would be sending them they have a checklist, they have a to-do list item rather, that they need to do a SAP appeal if they have extenuating circumstances. And I know some of the people on this meeting here, I see some of our SAP committee members here. But so students that have extenuating circumstances of why they didn't meet the standards can, have the right to submit an appeal, which would get reviewed, by the SAP committee. And the requirements for federal aid and state aid, both of those requirements are on our website, that students have to, meet the GPA requirements, as well as the ratio of earned versus attempted credits, and they can't be exceeding 90 credits. If they have over 90 credits for an associate's degree, they wouldn't be meeting SAP. Some of our students, I've had students think, well, my GPA is over 2.0. I don't understand the problem. But, as we know, that it's not just GPA. It's, the ratio of earned versus attempted credits. There's some students, they drop one class and they're checking to see how does it impact me, or what is it impacting. But, where one withdrawal is one thing, but when students repeatedly are withdrawing from classes or failing classes, it definitely catches up to them in terms of their eligibility as far as the satisfactory academic progress requirements. So I'd like to, if anyone has any specific questions they'd like to ask, I'm open. Okay. Well, again, I thank you for joining me or joining us at this meeting. And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. What about half credits? What about half credits? Well, the credits, it just goes up the eligibility, they can receive it, but it's based on like the specific credits, or 8.5 credits, or 7 credits, or whatever the case may be. But it, like I said, it used to just be the Pell eligibility was strictly like half-time, 3/4 time, full-time. And it was the same amount if somebody was taking 6 credits or 8.5 credits. Now the awards are dependent upon the specific credits.
Okay, so let's say a math is 4 credits, so they would get it specifically for 4 credits. And let's say they take chemistry, that's 4.5, then they would get 4.5 credits worth, correct?
Right. Well, what it's looking at like the person's total enrollment. Say, so for the fall semester, if somebody's taking 6 credits or somebody's taking 8.5 credits with the same SAI, the awards are going to be different, because it's looking at the not just everybody lumped into, anywhere from, well, say 6 credits is halftime, but say somebody was 7 credits or, 8.5 credits, it's not going to be the same for a bunch of people with different credits. All the people, it's going to be based on their specific credits. So a person that's taking 6 credits is going to be different than, their award would be different than somebody with 7 credits or 7.5 credits with the same SAI, the students with the same SAI. Does that answer your question?
Yep, thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. And please feel free, you can reach out if you have, if you think of something, after the meeting, which always happens, you can definitely please reach out. And if there's something that you need some more clarity on or any questions, I mean, things are changing constantly. So this has been a big year with financial aid, with all the changes. Okay. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you, Marianne, and thanks for being. I know we had to shuffle around, so I appreciate you coming on.
Oh yeah, no problem.
All right, so we're getting close to the end, folks, but we have one more presentation because of that, and we wanted to continue on with registrar. So Ingrid, if you're available, we'd love to hear from you.
Thank you so much. I'm here. I didn't leave.
I know. Thank you.
No, I was thinking when is going to be my turn, so I was waiting. Oh my God.
Sorry about that.
No, it's okay. It's actually interesting. Oh, thank you. So I would like to share my screen. The presentation, mine is not going to be that long. So let me just make this. Let me just move this a little bit. Move this one. Let me make this. This is not really making. So please let me know if you can see the screen.
Yep, we can see it.
So my name is Ingrid Jaramillo Estrella. I am one of the managers in the Office of the Registrar. So what I would like to talk to you about today is about the substitutions and waivers. So some substitutions are valid only for 1 semester. I mentioned this in the previous training for advisements that we had, but I think that is good to just mention it one more time. Some conditions may apply when they are only for 1 semester. Some substitutions or waivers can be for more than 1 semester, or like even for more than 1 catalog year, but also depends of the chair of the department. Sometimes what happens is when there is a change of chair of the department, they may change the substitutions. So the previous ones that they submitted, they are not going to be valid anymore. So that is something that we need to keep into consideration. There are approved waivers that are applied in the general education, and I would like to mention that when these waivers are applied in general education, it doesn't mean that the student cannot take any other course in that place. because they are going to be short in credits. So the pathway courses, they need to be fulfilled. So in this case, if a waiver is given to the student, for example, for a math course, they need to have another course that can be substituted for the previous one, for the one that they are receiving a waiver. So we cannot leave that space empty. We need a substitution that can go in that place, but it has to be a pathways course. In this case, if it is a math course, it needs to be an advanced math course. That also depends about the math department evaluation. They will let the student and the advisor know which course can go there. Sometimes they don't give the substitution until the grade is posted because they just want to make sure that the student is passing the class that they need. For the approved waivers in the major, those are a little different because when we apply waivers in the major, the students, for example, in biology major, they have credits in the advanced electives that they can make up for the credits that they are being waived of. So in this case, there are only particular cases when the waiver can just be applied and no substitution is needed. For example, biology or LS. But in this case, if the student is short in credits, another substitution will be needed in the major if they don't have a range for advice credits, right? So that is something that I would like to mention, just to make sure that we understand what is the difference when we have a waiver in the general education and when we receive a waiver in the major and when we first complete that part and when there is a substitution needed. Is there any questions about that? No? Okay. About the transfer credits, I would like to mention that the way that the credits are applied in the audit are going by requirement designation. The requirement designation is given in CUNY first by the transfer evaluator in admissions, and this is CUNY-wide. Some of them, that the ones that go in pathways, the requirement designation is about CUNY, like all CUNY is using them. But when the transfer credit is applied in the major, we need a more specific course to go there. So in this case, for example, if it is Bio 201 or if it is Bio 301, they need to be equivalent. So in those cases, we will need the course exactly stated, not the requirement designation by itself, when we are talking about the major. If we are talking about pathways, the requirement designation is fine. The only thing that I'm going to ask is if, for example, you see English 101 or English 102 not shown, not showing the name like that, please, if you can contact the admissions office and just let them know to reevaluate the credit, just to put the name correctly. This is to avoid any prerequisite problem in the future. Because when we are running PERC, we had some issues about that. So we have to double check that the credit is really English 101 or English 102. So for those two courses specifically, not the others, but those two, please make sure that English 101 and English 102, when there's a transfer credit, it says that name, please. Also, we encourage you to use the Transfer Explorer, as Renee was mentioning, just because when we have a question about a transfer credit, in my case, for example, I always use it, and I send a screenshot to the advisor just to make them aware about the credit that they need. So it's good to have this tool in use, just because sometimes there are questions about the equivalency of the courses or the amount of credits that they are coming to QCC. Sometimes they are short credits. Sometimes they are, for example, with BU 101, we have a lot of issues. It's because sometimes for us it's 4 credits, but for other colleges, for example, York is only 3 credits. So we just need to make sure that we are on the same page with the equivalent courses and the credits that they are transferring here. So the Transfer Explorer tool is actually very useful for that. So that is something that I encourage everybody to use. We have a good news about health sciences. I'm excited about that. So we had a meeting about this with the provost and Dr. Pulin and also Dr. Gadura. So we came with a new program change and the concentration. So this is going to be coming for the 2025-2026 catalog year. Unfortunately, we cannot really apply this for the past catalog years. Even if we tried, we couldn't do it. So in this case, the concentration is coming with a little change. So it's going to be more specific about the credits. So like this, there's not going to be confusion about them. We have for now a blanket substitution, a waiver for the 2022-2023 and 2023-2024 catalog years. This means that, for example, in the concentration, if the student is short in the section when it says 6 credits and 8 credits, we can somehow share the credits, even though the catalog doesn't say it, but the blanket substitution is going to allow us to do that. For the sections in the 2024-2025 catalog year, we decided not to put any credits in there because the idea is that the students are going to fulfill their requirement, one course from that list. We were thinking that if we put any credits in there, it was going to cause confusion. So, we cannot really share the credits in there because there's nothing in the catalog or also in the academic university report that is saying that we can actually share these credits. So that is the reason why we left it as one course from the list. So like this, there's no confusions about how many credits the student needs to take for every single section, but there is a requirement of the 23 credits that need to be adding up with the 5 credits in the major. So to complete the 28 credits in the major. So we were thinking that it's easier to have it this way, so there's no confusions. I'm hoping that is also going to be helpful for you, for all of you. So in this case, there is something about the required courses and versus the free electives. In this case, the free elective is optional because it's 0 to 3 credits. This means that the student doesn't really need any free elective. We need to focus that the student completes the required courses from those sections in the concentration. That is the main focus. If the student is short in credits after fulfilling every single section in the concentration, then the free elective comes to play. So just please make sure that the students take the required courses first and the free elective is last. Just leave it as if the student needs it. Because remember, the credits is 0 to 3. It's not a mandatory 3 credits there. But if the student needs it, so in this case, you can use those 3 credits to complete the credits from the concentration. And the new updates are coming for 2025-2026 catalog year. And any questions about that? So the next slide that I have is, I would like just to make like a note about this because there was a confusion about the remarks on the audits of the students. The remarks are the notes that you can see, for example, when the student needs a certain course or when the student needs a certain thing, like a certain course or in a particular section in the audit, or when there is a grade requirement, or when it's, for example, the credits required. So those are remarks. The question came up because of the business administration, BTAS. I understand the concerns about this, and I really I understand what you mean, the people who were asking me about this. The only thing is that we cannot really add every single note on the students' audits, right? We cannot do every single remark that the college catalog has, because if you look at the catalog, it has a lot of notes at the bottom. It has a lot of notations, and we cannot really add all of this into the students' audits because it will become a very long document. And honestly, nobody's going to read it and nobody's going to use it. So the idea is just to put the most relevant remarks on the students' audits. So they are the ones that are going to be most important for the students to take a look. So if you need like any additional detailed information about that particular major, please consult the catalog because on the website. So that the idea that the catalog is there is also for your use. So like this, if you have any question about a detailed note that is on the catalog, please refer to the catalog, to the college catalog. Everything in the audit is going to be showing what is the most important parts in there. But we cannot really put everything in there. It's like it's not going to be helpful for anybody. So that is the reason why we put only the most remarks, the most relevant remarks in there. So the most important notes that the student needs to know, right? So that is the idea why they also go to all of you. So just in case if they have a doubt or if they have a concern You can also guide them. And I'll be there too to guide you. If you need any questions or if you have any concerns, I'll be there too. So that is, and also the changes that we make or any notes that we add or any remarks that we add cannot be applied for the past. So always to the future. So unfortunately, we cannot do anything in the past. So that is something that I would like to add too. And something that I promised you last time that we were talking, it was the graduation audit website updates. We have 4 links. All of them are updated. So if I will share this information with William so he can share with all of you. All the links are updated. So if you have any questions, maybe I will appreciate if you can look at them. And if you see something that you would like, you think that should be there, yes, please let me know. And also I will appreciate that you can just review the information there. And if you see that something is no longer relevant maybe for you or for your students, please let me know too. I am interested to learn about what you think about these 4 links. But for now, they have all the information updated. So that is the good news that I wanted to share with you. And also about the diplomas, the financial aid exit interview hold is no longer an stop to release the diplomas. So in this case, we can give the diplomas to all the students, even if they have that hold. So that is also great news that I wanted to share with you. Do you have any questions?
I don't see any questions. I know it's a lot of information, but luckily we'll have everything, and I'll be recording. So, Ingrid, thank you so much for the presentation and your patience. I really appreciate it. And any last minute questions? Okay. All right. I think that'll finish up for today. Thank you so much, Ingrid, and thank you everyone for contributing today. Again, these links will be published on YouTube, and I'll probably have all 3 trainings in one email by the end of the week, just to give everyone a notice on when the videos will be published. All right. Thank you, everyone, and have a great day.